Priyanka Belapurkar with you once again, collaborating with Health Library to offer ways to grow during this unusual time in our life. Today I speak with you from the vantage viewpoint of an amateur artist. There are so many creative people in this world doing so much with their inspired creativity. My talk is for those who have the creative juice but fail to launch. You may easily generate amazing ideas, but to also plan future action is equally essential, and that's where you and I can err on the side of effort. Many clients during the course of my clinical practice have erroneously believed themselves to be unimaginative. It's an unlikely assumption based on borrowed prejudices, is what I believe. Every single person has aspects of creativity in them, I truly believe, just like each one of us is born intuitive. Today, I'm reaching out to those of you who think they may be in that category. Rich imagination, not so rich implementation, those that haven't found a way to express their creative selves. Also, to those who, like me, love to daydream, have ideas pouring forth like rain, but find it tiresome to sit down and harness this talent. I know many of you out there are free spirits, liberated, and with fertile imagination. Let's talk about why some of you then feel disillusioned in spite of such available talent. This lockdown has given us time to bring in much needed change if required. I like to know of myself as a creative being, but just knowing isn't enough, right? How about me and you getting more serious about what we want to create? Now is the time to plan this unfoldment, now that we have this period where we cannot really do anything apart from reflect. And this unfoldment can happen only in all seriousness after the period of lockdown is over. So let me share with you a game plan I made for myself for fully expressing my true creative self. I had to put myself through the grinder to identify areas of weak implementation in my creative aspirations. To me, the word immersion best describes in this context of creativity a complete surrender to the process of creating. Are we doing that? Excessive involvement with social media can interfere with this process, and it unfortunately stops us from focusing and becomes a distraction to our serious involvement with the creative project on hand. Creativity requires a lot of focusing, according to my experience. So it's up to each individual to get really serious if they want to get their creativity out there to the public. Think about how you're going to move from this idea stage that you are in currently to implementation, and how much time you are spending daily on social media when you could be just creating. Nothing inherently wrong with social media, trust me, only our extreme obsession with it. Especially now, when our physical intimacy with others in one-on-one interactions has been so severely hampered, we are forced back onto our social media connection. There's an urgency almost, a desperation here to stay in touch. So we may use social media more than we would otherwise. And it's vital that we check then for free space on our social media calendar and not fill it up with waking moments with only virtual exchanges only. These free times are precious. Trust me, they're precious. Grab them for your creative aspirations. You remember as children, we all have had visions, and a lot of us learned to put these away. We learned to put them away as children, as it was more acceptable to use your left brain and get on with it. In the fertile landscape of imagination, some of us continue to dream, however, even as adults. But what I have seen happening, even with myself in my artist avatar, is that organization and getting the nitty-gritties down into structure and form is difficult. And like many of you, I take pleasure in dreaming of my future masterpiece painting or the future book that I'm going to write. And this dream takes me far into my subconscious mind, and that there's no scarcity of ideas over there. But then what? Why would I spend so much of time on imagining that masterpiece rather than bringing it under the limelight? Consider if there's a lack of confidence here. Are we shy? Are we scared? The realization for me was that because I enjoy ideating so much, I get quite lost quite often just doing that. And you might too. To paraphrase Marianne Williamson, she's one of my favorites, maybe we are indeed scared of showing our creative power. Or maybe just the thought of stepping out of imagination into the real world of logistics is awfully fearful. And the question then is, do we wish to brave the limelight? Because if it costs us so much in terms of requiring a lot of courage, is it worth it? But if we do believe that it is worth it and we can brave the limelight, then what can be done about that? How can we proceed? For me, first step was creating mind maps. You know what mind maps are. You can Google search and figure that out. Using shapes and colors with words is a great way to put down your future plan on paper. And I refer back to these most times. Sometimes I do forget, but more often you look at it, chances are that you will act according to what you have written in your mind map. And I understand that during lockdown, many of us are multitasking, for some, even kids on top of everything. Is this a good time for me to tell you to do things a little differently? I think it is. Because if you can carve out some precious time for yourself now, when it's tough times, seriously, you're good in peacetime. So go on, decide what time in the day or night you're going to sit in your favorite space, do nothing but create for a prescribed amount of time, maybe just 15 minutes, and nobody try and move you from that space. This is you telling the universe, I'm downright serious about transferring my ideas from my mind to the drawing board, eventually to the public. Be it painting, writing, doodling, cartooning, anything. I mean, people do all kinds of things nowadays because it's so creative. What we are doing is allocating a fixed time and space every single day to do some meaningful exploration of our dream project or projects. The emphasis is on fixed time. The brain likes repetition, and the more you practice this routine, the more success you will have at moving from just ideating to actually implementing, which means to actually get your hands dirty. And like the spiritual monk that uses his or her cave to marinate in and gain enlightenment eventually, so too is a creative person required to detach from everything else for a period of time at least. Creativity is first cousin of spirituality, remember? And as seekers of inspiration, this is paramount. The time we just spend doing our creative stuff, away from everything else. You know that nature walks are no longer available to a lot of us right now. Maybe you can wake up an hour earlier, get inspired in the stillness that's unique to early hours. Morning times are inspirational. Ask all those yogis out there, ask me. Have always been an early riser. I find that the mind and the body are highly attuned at that time, and they can soak up new instructions very easily. Personally, I have a very annoying habit, which I'm going to share with you. My planning is awfully detail oriented and it's a never ending process. By the time I have collected my thoughts, done exhaustive research I can on the subject matter, imagine my idea threadbare, I'm on the threshold of a brand new idea. So in effect, I could have tons of material on what to paint or write, but slow on implementation as a new idea hijacks my time yet again. So this period has helped me to know this about myself more clearly, and I'm doing something finally to change this habit. One last thing I wish to talk about, which as a writer and painter, I have suffered many times, something called artist block. Very common it seems. I'm professionally a therapist, and even as a therapist, I'm called to continuously amp my skills. There will be times when your creative juices run dry. The canvas will stare back at you, not elicit ideas. What is to be done then? These are the times when I reflect over what to add to my repertoire of skill sets. I'm using this lockdown period to get trained further, reading up on techniques, replacing the trips down to the art galleries with online research, finding new books to read, Another useful way to go past a block is to spend time reflecting. The idea that you're researching, reflect on it. What is the significance of that idea to you? How much does it mean to you? Are you passionate about it? Really passionate? What are the associations you have of this idea with your life gone by? When was the first time you wanted to create this? Why are you even creating this? Or rather, why haven't you created this as yet? So I question the idea's need to be part of my imagination. Why is it sitting there? Why is it part of my life? And when did it become part of me? You see, I'm building passion for it in this way. And there could be some idea that we have nurtured in our subconscious mind for decades. And as I start questioning its birth, I create a kind of nurturing womb space for it to start growing again. And in case it has withered a bit, and I'm back on track. So my current art teacher urges me to get my finished product out there. But that can only happen when I acknowledge to myself, it's done. I have done whatever I could with it. The tendency for continued improvisation is very strong within a lot of us, possibly as part of our training, school, college, etc. And because we want to always offer the best of ourselves. And so we have to deliberately put a brake on this and move it under public scrutiny. Share it with people. When I get stuck, sometimes I lose faith in my creative abilities as well. At times I lose focus and interest. And then the most difficult thing happens. A project of mine gets stalled. On the back burner, half-baked, it goes and lies. And what I do then is let it be for a few days, a few weeks, out of sight. I decide to go back to it on a prescribed day, hopefully with fresher insights and fresher energy. No one said it was easy to be a creative junkie. So dear co-creators, choose wisely whether you want to unleash your creative selves. Because you have to, at some point, stop dreaming and imagining and get serious about shaping your ideas into concrete form. That's about it for now from me. You probably have tons more to share. Talk about it with your creative friends. And more importantly, let your ideas see the light of day. The world is literally waiting to offer you a platform. Thank you and see you soon again.